I could be a serial killer. I could be a guy who pees in your coffee pot.
I suggest you give the man a badge.
Kim, I don't think that's fair.
Fair?
It's time to break down another Better Call Saul episode in order. In this one, Jimmy, Kim, and Gus all make big statements, and I've got 47 details you might not know in Season 4, Episode 2, Breathe. Dr. Goodman's back, but knowing his affiliation with Gus and given how dark it is, this must not be an authorized visit. Earlier, the screen's 72 beats per minute matched what we heard. Here, the beating is the same, but the screen shows a rate over double that. But the double rate could mean that the doctor is able to trigger a response. This shot was inspired by The Exorcist poster and cover shot. Director Michelle MacLaren even said she got a copy of the movie to prep for this.
Whether he will wake up and understand what's going on around him, there's no way of knowing.
That's unacceptable.
There's very little even the best hospitals could do. Might it be different if he was in the care of someplace like Johns Hopkins? Perhaps. But in the end, I can think of no better judgment on this man. Isn't this what he deserves?
I decide what he deserves.
Yeah, Barry, know your place.
No one else.
That's probably a reference to Nacho. The original outline had Gus more directly express his irritation toward him. And their first idea for this teaser was having it take place in a foreign airport, likely Germany, where you'd see how Gus recruits Dr. Bruckner, who we'll meet later. They decided it was too difficult to pull off. This group didn't have Apple TV money yet. This is going a little better than the last time we saw him juice.
Oh, shit. Vitamin C, it'll help you heal quicker.
Ray is still wearing a real cast for every episode.
I've also got leftover bacon for my breakfast sandwich.
Badass.
It was director of photography Marshall's idea to give the camera lots of pendulum movement to reflect Jimmy's energy.
And I made coffee, put a little cinnamon in it for flavor. Just trying something different. Did I wake you with the noise?
I was getting up.
I'm sorry. I've got
Eventually.
job interviews lined up. Office manager interview in Polvidera.
Like a receptionist, but we call you the office manager because it's less demeaning.
And I'm working my way up north to Algodones. I got a lot of ground to cover.
That is a lot of ground to cover.
You can take some time off.
Kim would like Jimmy to take a moment to breathe and process Chuck's death, but Jimmy just keeps going with a spring in his step even.
Why wait? Wish me luck. Good luck. Oh, Thai or Mexican?
Why don't we ever get Chinese?
You're not going to that meeting?
If there's anything important, Howard knows how to find me.
Michelle MacLaren loves having things come at you, and this is the first of 3 vehicles that drive into the camera in this episode. It causes a problem the 3rd time, and we'll talk about it later.
Todo terminó.
This is one of Vince's favorite shots, infused with extra meaning with Manuel in the light and Nacho in the dark. Tom Schnauz said Manuel is purposely mimicking Hector here.
Salamanca money!
Puedes quedarte con eso. Nadie viene por él.
You can once again see the fake The United States instead of the United States of America. And I've never been able to see it this clearly before, but it says in Him we trust instead of in God we trust.
¿Y cuándo va a terminar esto para ti?
En eso ando trabajando.
Nacho exit. Here we can see a dispensary that still exists today, although it wouldn't have existed until at least 2007 when medical use was legalized. At least they modified the sign to say cards. Given the logo, they could have said Zafiro. This strange location was completely empty before the crew turned it into Neff Copiers. We've got a new production designer for Season 4 only, Judy Rhee, and this was her first big set. They chose this location because it's perfect for what happens in the next episode. The rotating machines are a hilarious touch and made Vince laugh out loud.
Mr. Neff's aunt and uncle.
The Neff name was inspired by Walter Neff from Double Indemnity.
That's a thermofax?
You know your stuff?
Oh, I worked in a mailroom.
The wall they're looking at does not have that lighting.
That's a 6500 color copier.
That machine was almost too good. Counterfeiters used it to make phony $5 bills.
What?
Yeah.
That's not right.
We're all trying to find the guy who did this.
Although he made fake IDs, we don't know that he ever went that far.
Cowboy.
Mr. Neff loves sponsoring the kids.
Bowling? That's fun.
Between the display of sponsoring kids and the bowling, this scene is another nod to the Big Lebowski.
They're the Little Lebowski urban achievers.
In fact, Tom wanted to name this employee Philip Seymour, Seymour Hoff, or Hoffman, but couldn't clear those names, so they went with Henry Seymour.
Hummels.
Jimmy knows more than most about the value of Hummels thanks to his earlier work.
Those were Alma's. She loved collecting the little things.
I knew the lady. Same way.
And the show outline says he's wistful of his lawyer days here.
Touring the wall of crap, I see. I need to drag that stuff to the dumpster.
Mr. Neff, this is James McGill.
Oh, just Jimmy's fine.
These two guys are a comedy team who go way back with Bob. Bob was the one who suggested they team up after seeing them do a sketch together. And the three of them are currently filming a bizarre movie together called The Making of Jesus Diabetes, so we should be hearing a lot more about that soon.
You were a lawyer. What changed?
Well, you know why God made snakes before he made lawyers?
Lawyer jokes.
He needed the practice.
I needed the practice.
It's the only lawyer joke I know, because all the others are true stories. Being a lawyer, my job was sales. I was selling to judges, I was selling to juries. Sometimes I was selling to clients every hour of every day. I was convincing, persuading, I was selling.
I hear what you're saying. We have a lot of high-ticket items and a clientele primed to say no.
My spirit animal is a Gila monster. Once I latch on, I don't let go.
You make a lot of excellent points, Jimmy. We're gonna put our heads together, have a decision in, say, about a week or so. What's on your mind?
This silver car in front of the post disappears during Jimmy's speech, but then right at the end it reappears.
The time you spend looking for someone is time I could be out there working for you. And sure, there are salesmen out there with way more experience than me. But what are the chances one of them's gonna come walking through that door in the next week? Is it worth the wait? Maybe. None of them will have the connection to your machines that I do. I know how important the copy machine is. It's the beating heart of any business.
Bob requested they put this machine in Mr. Neff's office so he could interact with it in his speech.
It goes down. That's a business on life support. You plug one of your new machines into the system, that is a healthy, strong heartbeat. Ka-chunk, 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 bang, bang, bang. That is a healthy business. Ka-chunk, ka-chunk, ka-chunk.
Pop, pop, pop.
Just pop, pop, pop. That is a successful business.
Just boom, boom, boom.
And that's what we're selling.
Okay, who else cringes at this part?
Welcome to the team.
Really? Congrats.
Damn right.
There's the camera and operator over Jimmy's shoulder.
You were gonna take some time though and consider your options, but I did that little song and dance and I'm in.
Yeah, right. That's right.
Are you out of your mind? I just came in off the street. You guys are like a couple of cats. I come in, wave a shiny object around. You're like, I want that. I could be a serial killer. I could be a guy who pees in your coffee pot. For flavor, just trying something different.
So you're not taking the job?
No, I'm not taking the job.
He's got a lot of complex emotions here, and Vincent Peter liked the idea of the audience being mystified by this. But here are some things that the writers, director, and Vince believe. This was not premeditated. He blames himself for Chuck's death, and he's filled with self-loathing that comes out whenever someone's nice to him. He feels he doesn't deserve it, but he doesn't quite realize that. He just knows that he feels more comfortable doing bad things rather than good things. There's a second moment coming up where Jimmy lashes out after getting positive attention again.
Suckers.
Tom said that this line in particular shows that Jimmy's thinking of his dad and how he still can't stand how he kept falling victim to con artists.
I feel sorry for you.
And Michelle said this end of the scene is crucial for demonstrating who he's becoming. He doesn't stay mad, but just sloughs it off and gets back to business.
I'm wondering, are you still interviewing for the sales associate position? Wonderful. Well, thank you, Ellen. I'll see you soon.
This is a nod to the last time Kaylee and Mike will be together from another episode written by Tom. They even looked at using the same park but couldn't fit it into the shooting schedule. It was really cold out and the people back here put on coats between takes. Mike's paper is a modified version of the April 5th, 2003 issue, so again there's great attention to detail there.
Yeah.
Mike, they're coming for you. Right now, they're coming.
Just kidding.
Meet at what time?
This scene wasn't originally in the script, but they felt you needed to see where Mike's head is at before his meeting with Lydia.
I can be there. All right, baby.
5 more minutes?
Oh, honey, come on.
I didn't realize this until recently, but this is meant to be a hotel. And it is the very fancy Hotel Chaco in Albuquerque where the cast and crew had their wrap party at the end of this season. The one hotel clue we get is this person walking with a suitcase. Originally it was going to be Homewood Suites, which would have been more obvious, but they figured that Lydia would stay somewhere more elevated while traveling. And they liked that it would be an environment that Mike would be uncomfortable in.
Madrigal electromotive.
Straight down the hall, this into your room on your left. Oh, good.
The artwork in this room is covering TVs, pretty unconvincingly if you look closely.
You didn't come all this way just for me.
I frequently travel to conference with distributors.
Okay.
I'm just looking for an explanation.
If I show my face in your warehouse, it makes for a better cover story. Plus, you had a few things that needed correcting, so consider it a bonus.
This is meant to be a paper transaction.
Lydia's looking anxious like in Breaking Bad, so perhaps Mike made her this way.
Doing what you did, the way you did it, raises the threat of exposure.
The way I see it, it lowers the threat.
What's your plan then?
Madrigal has 8 terminals in the Southwest. 1 down, 7 to go.
If I asked you to reconsider,
I'd ask you to do the same.
at the moment, you have Gus Fring's respect. I'd want to keep that if I were you.
Based on their upcoming conversation, I'm not sure Lydia has Gus Fring's respect. Although Hector's unresponsive, he is breathing.
Hello, hi. Dr. DeSeth, this is Dr. Maureen Bruckner.
Dr. DeSeth is named after Peter DeSeth, who plays Bill. They were looking for a Peter DeSeth type to play the doctor, so they just kept the name.
Dr. Bruckner's visiting from Johns Hopkins.
Johns Hopkins.
Johns Hopkins.
Every profession has their version of.
Partner track.
Partner track?
Partner track.
Yes, a generous grant came through.
If the generous grant and Johns Hopkins weren't enough of a hint, the fact that she's the only one wearing red is another one that reveals who's behind this.
Which allowed Dr. Bruckner to lend us her expertise.
Only temporarily.
Temporary.
We can co-manage care if you like. We can...
No.
He wants nothing more to do with the cousins.
Vamos a intentar algo un poco diferente. Nuestro trabajo es estimular esas mismas partes para que puedan reconectarse. ¿Ustedes también son familiares?
Amigos de la familia.
Cuanto más le hablen, más se activará su cerebro para recordar y encontrar caminos para reconectarse.
Bruckner, exit.
Fabian. Don Hector.
What?
Todo está bien allá afuera. Nadie quiere meterse con los Salamancas. Los doctores lo van a mejorar. Va a superar esto. Y estar más fuerte que nunca.
Here, Gus is showing off his expensive IWC Portugueser watch.
I'm in town. Can we meet?
Now is not a good time.
And Lydia's showing off her Louboutins. Michelle purposely got this low shot of the shoes as a callback to Breaking Bad. This is still really Hotel Chaco, and this rooftop deck will appear again in Pluribus.
I spoke with your security contractor. What he's doing makes no sense.
Do his reasons matter?
So I'm just supposed to let him keep stealing my employees' badges. This isn't something I want to spend my time worrying about.
Then I suggest you give the man a badge.
It's pretty crazy how Gus's right index finger is twitching just like Hector's will.
Bruckner saw him 3 times. They took him for a brain scan.
And?
So everything, no change.
It does seem a little weird that Gus has this law book on his desk, especially because it's for eastern states. Is he eyeing a major Pollos expansion? The medical records are out of focus, so we can't tell if they really say Hector Salamanca or Jack Tess.
You want me back at the hospital?
Based on Gus's reaction, it seems like he's looking at blood work that shows the absence of heart medication, which confirms his suspicion about Nacho.
No. Call Victor. Have him meet us.
Although medical professionals seem to have doubts about how realistic this is. The flags are at half-mast in honor of Chuck, but they've got the ordering wrong. From the front view, the American flag is supposed to be on the left, then the state flag, then the company flag. Who does Howard think he is? Here you can see the extra on the steps Time is walking with Kim's. Not yet. Not yet. Okay, it's my time to shine. Also, there's a looky-loo up here who might be purposely forcing himself into the show. The outline for this episode calls this the HH office. That's cold.
Right down here.
Am I late?
Kim, no, right on time.
It's nice to see you again.
Jimmy's not coming.
I'm here on his behalf.
We thought, since Rebecca was still in town, better to talk through the estate in person.
Kim went with a low barrette instead of her ponytail here since the writers thought she could either do that with one hand or with Jimmy's assistance.
Howard suggested it would be the right thing for Jimmy to go through whatever survived and take whatever he wants.
That's okay. Jimmy doesn't want any of it.
The garage is pretty intact, except for some water damage.
He doesn't want it. Thank you.
Well then, all that's left is for him to sign this agreement letter. We can disperse his share of the estate.
Let me guess. 4,000?
5.
Originally, Kim was going to guess 5,000 and it was going to be 4, so he's got that going for him.
It's what you give when you want to cut someone out of a will but not have it contested.
Chuck also left a substantial endowment for a scholarship for deserving youth. I was hoping Jimmy would agree to serve on the board.
I'll let him know. What else?
Chuck left Jimmy a personal letter.
Howard, thank you. Please give Jimmy my best.
I will.
Kim?
I just had to know, what were you thinking?
About?
When you came to Jimmy on the day of his brother's funeral and laid that shit on him. What's wrong with you?
Patrick Fabian said Howard's knocked off balance by Kim violating social norms.
I thought I owed it to Jimmy to tell him.
Owed it to him?
He also said his reactions were too much initially and director Michelle told him to tone it down a bit.
Did you owe it to Rebecca? You tell her your theory?
That is an excellent point.
I guess not. I guess you just saved that one for Jimmy.
I didn't do it to hurt Jimmy.
No, you did it to make yourself feel better by unloading your guilt.
Jimmy did that to Howard, although Kim doesn't know it.
Who cares what it does to Jimmy, right? As long as Howard Hamlin is okay.
Kim, I don't think that's fair.
Fair? Let's talk about fair. Let's let Jimmy dig around the fire-damaged wreck where his brother died screaming, and then let's let him pick up a keepsake or two. That is so fair. You want him to serve on the board of a scholarship committee? A scholarship that Chuck never in a million years would have given to Jimmy. Never.
Never.
It is just, oh, what's this too, huh, Howard? One last screw you, little brother, from beyond the grave? Am I really supposed to do this to him?
All right, Kim. What can I do to make it better?
There is nothing you can do. Just stay away.
I tried to warn you last time, Howard. Somebody give her an Emmy. Maybe in 2026?
I hope you're hungry. I bought way too much food.
Yeah.
In 5 minutes?
5 more minutes?
One of the classic movie channels is showing White Heat without interruption. The other is showing Jaws 3 with commercials, so real Sophie's choice.
I think that counts. He's back to using colorful references.
It is Jaws 3D, to be exact.
It's the same movie. Jaws 3 is the correct name for the 2D TV broadcast.
Cagney wins this one.
Kim's familiar with White Heat since she knows James Cagney's in it.
Haven't you ever seen White Heat?
Yeah, I've seen White Heat.
How was the job search?
Actually, I got an offer.
Really?
This just wasn't a perfect fit.
They're both lying to each other about big moments in their day and hiding their takedowns of other people.
Yeah, how was your day?
I just mostly stayed here, trying to get organized. No pressure from Paige and Kevin, but I gotta get back on the horse.
Cowboy.
This is the beginning of White Heat playing, but it's been less than a minute and a half since Jimmy said,
5 minutes?
As Tom said when pitching this episode to Sony executives,
and then it's go time for sex.
Here's the second occurrence of Jimmy rejecting positive attention. He's loved and supported, which makes him feel undeserving, so he acts out on this eBay clone. SeeItBuyItSellIt.com. That's SeeItBuyItSellIt.com. Actually, it's .org, but Sony Pictures already owns that one. Selling figurines online has been a part of this universe from the start.
Yes! 56! Oh.
Wow, that's a valuable one. This is a pretty unrealistic browser, especially because the icon is the default icon for a Windows Forms application, a UI framework that took the world by storm in 2002, so at least it's not an anachronism. This was filmed on a set because they didn't have time to go on location. That's not a phone number.
This is a recording.
Whoops, wrong number.
I'm not available at the moment. Leave a message.
Jimmy's once again wearing that 1 minute outfit.
I got something for you. I think you're really gonna like this. Call me.
Originally, Jimmy was going to call the vet here, but by changing it to Mike, we get a much-needed excuse to see them together in the next episode. Here's the third vehicle driving into the camera, and this time the car pulled up closer than it should have, so Paul, the camera operator, improvised and swung out to the side to save the shot.
We're taking 6 tonight.
What?
6 keys is what the boss would want. You gonna back me up or what?
Yeah.
Where's the rest?
Salamancas get 6.
The boss isn't giving orders. He can barely even open his eyes.
I'm giving the orders. Take the 5, I'll leave with nothing.
Do you want to go? 6.
Put it away.
Do you really want to do this?
There are a ton of continuity errors with these kilos. Earlier, just the 5 shifted, and here the 6th one rotates almost 90 degrees, and here it is moved yet again.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
That's how you do it. We had him pissing their pants.
Ro really thinks he's the new Hector.
Did he piss himself?
Arturo and Nacho working as a team.
With all these guys, did Gus really need to be the one to sneak up on Arturo?
I do this.
Back there is Nick from Breaking Bad. And here he's right next to the truck, just like when he died. In case you were wondering, the bags always had openings in them facing away from the camera.
I know what you've done. The Salamancas, they do not.
These close-up shots of Nacho were filmed 3 months later with none of the other original actors, and in a different location right behind the studio. The same is true for some of the Arturo close-ups.
Look at me. Look at me. From now on, you are mine.
You are done.
Nacho and Gus working as a team, reluctantly.
Gus is doing another box cutter ploy. Like Walt, Nacho is too valuable, so he kills someone else in a long, horrible way to send a message. The writers did have box cutter in mind here, and Tom came up with suffocation because he wanted a slow death but felt like they needed something different. And look how they turn Arturo to face Nacho. Gus is clearly inspired by what the cartel did to him.
God.
Gustavo, exit. So much for Nacho's Way Out. Congratulations and thanks to the new 1-year members. Party draws 2-Yip, Funny Man, Mr. Jester, Soda Enjoyer 44, John Oysterman, KJZ, Wolf Schlegel Steinhausenberger, Samuel Gasper, Murph, Herg, DJ Wolfie, Joens, Solicide, Barshot, Joel, Gandalf, Vero, Stormson, William Garcia, Din Beavizzle, Gonk, Stickleprick, Gargura Fan 12, Sneezer, Skytree Studio, Jesse's Game Room, Gabriel Carrera, Eddie Hume Tua, The Madalix, Chopchislaw, Tedison the Great, Imoyu, Pesty Wanderer, Stuart Kerr, Jamie McGibbon, Eyeballing Shed, Sebs Incognito, Better Watch Twin Peaks, Patrek, Swag Possessed Me, Circle Jerk, Jakob Kawami, Catherine Thatcher, Julius DeWatzers, Zahai, Philippe Morera, Patrick, Connor the Greatest, JD Young, Mohammed Nahad, Brian Stern, Infinity Cow, It's Enzyme, The Music Guy, Kinetics, Mercy's Fine Hips, Fluffy Misty, Lobster Dog, Nate, Rainbow Shoddy, and the Lonely Millennial Chris Daniels. I also want to fix my pronunciation of Zeta 3 Baby. Congratulations and thanks to the new 6-month members. Cooper Fritz, Adam Stotts, Rahama, Anthony Aguilar, Enrique Andres Escoval Gonzalez, Bobic738, Plandana, Joe Trainer, Grayson Morant, Skachacha, Zomshi, Inspector Inspected, Tripboy, J. Roa, Kendo Aguero, Rama Pedro Buena, Lalit, Cordless Pen, Alejo 31, Private Sniffles, Joseph Leibson, Shivering Stars Gabo, Pitter the Cherry, Feels Goodman, Karma, Leo Spain, Ira J. Ribeye, Yukwi, Hannah Montana, Local Dumbass, Zach C., Ryan, Enrico Cipriani, The Walton Files, Uncone, Yamoin, Starcaden, Sebio, Bailey, Arctic, Riley Martin, Benny B209, Woda, Matches Bocek, Rotorman, W Retrowaves, Jason Keats, Sup With It, Thomas Theorist, Matthew Matuziak, Taco Eater, Jinx, Daniel Olarte Rincon, Leonardo Dello Russo, Erky Penipateri, Genki Green, Miles Bell, Nakaya Levasseur, Miklo, Fish, How You Buy That, Judge Greg, Seton, Piper 004, Reese Prime, The Real Nathan, Curry Cat, 5x7, Gabriel Milligres, Tom Barber, Adije, Havel, Chainsmoker, Zachary Myers, Frito, Antonio Vasquez, Don, JJ Murphy, Jason Reeves, Hazel, Blixby, Samuel Wolford, Girl Failure, Fabi 120, Sam, Rodrigo Productions, Tyronco, Replay MC, Capitan Cuba, J4S8, Andy Lawson, Samuel Porter, Timbo, Franklin Long Rifle, Luke Stephenson, Jimbu, 1551, and 3 Raison. Next time, let's do something beautiful here.
Who left these kids alone in the park?
Welcome to the team. Really? Damn right.
Congrats. Well, you set. God. Just do from there.
Welcome to the team.
Really?
Damn
Congrats.
Welcome to the team. Jimmy. Welcome to the team.
Really?
Damn.
At it all day.
We're not shooting, are we?
Oh my God!
We're well. Fuck! Oh my God!
And background and action.
Primero otra vez.
Okay, hang on a second, you guys. We got Hector walking in the shot.
He's fine.
Ah!
That thing needed special coated paper in order to print a copy.
Oh, you know your stuff?
Well, my dad was an electrofax. He was a machine. And when haywire.
Just trying to make your breathing a little easier so that we don't see the rise and fall as much as it feels.
If they double my salary, I'll stop breathing.
Right down here.
Am I late?
Kim, no, right on time. We were just finishing up with Anne's side of things.
That's Rebecca.
It is Rebecca.
Suckers. I feel sorry for you.
Get back here! You get back here now! Nobody walk out of Neff Copiers and says, we're suckers, you're the sucker.
Dreaming about show business.
What's his name? You get back here, Jimmy! You come right back here! Don't deface us like you just did. Captain McGill.
Hey, Bob, coming back.